Hey guys, it's Michael Levine here, and for this video blog I'm going to just kind of do a bit of a stream of consciousness sort of thing, things that have been on my mind for the last little week, or maybe things that have pissed me off this week. The first portion of this is going to be for junior stylists or entry-level stylists, maybe if you're a young stylist new in town or you're in hairdressing school and it's about getting a job. Now I do a session in my schools, and I also do this session around North America and a lot of other schools called How to Get a Job, Keep a Job, and Thrive in the Industry. So I'm maybe a little bit hypersensitive to this subject. But right now, we're having a hard time hiring in our salons. And I own a couple of hairdressing schools. So, the plan with the hairdressing schools was to hire out of the schools. And right now we're not in a position that we have anybody that we can hire. And maybe it's because in the schools that people had the intention on working for us when they entered our schools. And by the time they're finished with their schools, they're like, yeah, we don't ever want to see you again. I don't want to spend any more time with you than I have to now, which is entirely possible. But anyway, so we're a little short-staffed in our salons and we're having a hard time getting people. So I took out a Craigslist ad, and I haven't done a Craigslist ad for an assistant in a long time. But every once in a while we have to, so we do that. So I took out a Craigslist ad, and it was a really, really crystal clear kind of ad, just, stating what the upside of working with us. And we offer an apprenticeship, like a proper apprenticeship, not some just kind of watch me do hair, sweep the floors kind of thing, but it's like a weekly scheduled class, and we give the person one floor day, and then they get 3 assisting days. Everybody in my company works 4 days a week, so they have no excuses for showing up to things or feeling burnt out or any of those kinds of things. So we give them one floor day, and when they hit certain financial goals, they get a second day. So you can become a full-time hairdresser in my company in as little as 6 months. And, the average person might do it in closer to 12, but lots of people have done it in 6. So that's sort of what we offer. We offer a career for young hairdressers. And so that's what I put out in this ad. And I make it really clear. Here's the address, and it says resumes, and then I do this in capitals, in person, because I want to see if people can take direction. In person to Space Salon, here's the address, blah, blah, blah. And then I leave it. Well, I didn't get any responses on day 1. Day 2, I get an email from somebody, which, right off the bat, it's like, oh, you're emailing me. I didn't even think I'd left a responding email address. And she had said, oh, I saw the ad. Is it too late? Where should I go? I'm thinking of coming tomorrow. Is that okay? So I kind of ignored the ad because for me, I'm a real fan. I like people who are sort of go-getters. And I just kind of thought, I'm just going to leave this person to not respond to them and just sort of see if she shows up. There was an interview with Matt Damon several years ago where he talked about how young actors often come up to him and tell him their story and say, oh, I'm an actor, I've been doing this for 3 years, I haven't quite caught my break, do you think I should stick with it? And he always tells people no. And he says no because if somebody would take no for an answer, they shouldn't be in the industry anyways. And I kind of love that. I'm kind of that same mind where it's like, go out there and make shit happen for yourself. Don't wait for anything. And if you're the type of person who waits for things to happen, you're never going to be successful, so I don't want you. But so I kind of ignored this email. I thought, what, see if she shows up. She sent me another email a couple days later. And in this email, she went on to describe herself in full detail and what her wants and needs were of the industry, where her strengths were and what she was looking for. And at this point, I had no other responses to the ad. So I was kind of like, oh God, I might have to take this person. So I wrote her back and I just said, she had asked me in the email where she should apply. And I wrote her back and I said, go to the address that was in the ad. Now go get that job with an exclamation mark, which was kind of like there was some finality there, like just go get the effing job. You have the information. She wrote me back. She's like, what ad? Like she didn't make the connection between the Craigslist ad. It was really kind of awkward. Anyways, long story short, she sent me 9 emails in one day asking stupid things like, what's the address? What's a good time to show up? Is this okay? Is that okay? I mean, it was beyond ridiculous. And she sent me a 3 in a row because I didn't respond. The whole thing was beyond stupid. And then after all of this, she was like, okay, she finished it up with, okay, I'll see you tomorrow at between 2 and 3. She never even showed up with a resume. And this is often what we're dealing with. And what's even sadder is I probably would have hired her because at this point we kind of need a warm body. And even if she sucked, I would, still it's like, oh, you can ride a broom or maybe do a shampoo here or there until we can find somebody better qualified, which is super evil. But at the same time, whatever, you don't deserve to have success. if this is you. And I kind of look at it and I'm like, okay, who do we blame in this situation? Do we blame her parents for not raising her right and teaching her how to be a functioning human in society? Do we blame her hairdressing school for not saying, here's how you get a job? Because I know that's a big part of my curriculum. Do we blame high school? Like, who's to blame for this? And then I kind of looked at it just yesterday in one of my academies. One of my students that's about to graduate came up to me and said, here's where I want to work. And what should I do? And I'm like, good Lord, I did a 2-hour session with you on exactly this subject, and it's also in your textbook, and I wrote it. Like, it's there. Like, why not just follow exactly what I've told you to do? And so I can't necessarily blame the parents or the school and all these things, because even when you do give somebody the information, they don't always listen to you. So I have to sort of relax my thought a little bit on that. And so I will go easier on her parents. Anyway, so that was just something that pissed me off. The answer to this is, here's how you get a job. When you're in hairdressing school, think about where it is you would like to work. And there's only going to be a handful of salons that are going to be the places to work, especially when you're a young stylist. Places that are going to take in entry-level stylists when you have no clientele, because most people want a clientele if they're not chair rent. Where they're going to take a chance on young talent. So figure out who those people are and who those people who have a proven track record of developing talent, and target those people, and don't wait for them to take out an ad. For the love of God, don't contact them and ask if they're hiring. Go there with a resume looking amazing top to bottom, with a nice resume, and none of this to whom it may concern bullshit. Put their name on it. Figure out who makes the hiring decisions. You can phone them and ask them if who makes the hiring decisions. But better yet, just go do some of your own research. Go on Google. You can find out everything you need to know about a company in 5 minutes on Google. And I have a whole nother thing about sales reps who don't do that, which drives me crazy as well. But do some research. Go in with a nice resume looking perfect and say, here's my resume. I don't know if you're hiring or not, but I want to work here. This is going to be the salon I work. This is the only salon I want to work at. I'm going to come back in a couple of weeks. I'm going to stalk you until you get a restraining order. I am going to work here, and you're going to want me, and I'm going to be one of your best young talent. And then split. And come back a couple weeks later and do the same thing. Hi, reminder, here's my resume. Eventually, those people are going to want you. Trust me, there is turnover in the salon industry, and there is no salon right now, or at least very few, because I'm certainly not experiencing an abundance of young talent. You will get a job there eventually, because the turnover rate, especially at the entry level in salons, is quite high. There will be room for you, so you stay at it. But for God's sakes, don't phone them or take no for an answer. Keep at it. Unless, of course, it does get a little bit awkward and they do get a restraining order, and then just stay away. So that was one sort of thing that pissed me off that I thought I should share. Another thing that I've noticed, and this is an interesting one, because I own 2 hairdressing schools. One is in the burbs, but it's a big sort of suburban town. It's like a very, very large city. And then the other one is in Vancouver. In my suburban location, what I have noticed is upwards of about 80% of my students in my school have no interest in ever setting foot in a hair salon, ever, period. Now, I understand this from like the young mothers or the single moms. You've got a young baby and you don't want to be spending a bunch of time on the road, or 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week in a hair salon. I totally get that. You need a degree of flexibility, and you maybe want to do a little side business out of your house. I totally get it. But what I don't really get, and this is just, even more common than the young mother, is hairdressers who just simply have no interest in working in a salon, and they just want to do a home business. And just recently, I've been asking my students, when we interview them, we ask them why they want to become a hairdresser. But when the school actually starts, I sit down with them and we have some dialogue. And just in the last week, I've sat down with 2 different groups of students. And it was out of the 6, 4 of them had no intention on being in a salon in one of my schools. And out of the 6 in my Vancouver school of the new students that just started, I think it was 3. So 50% and, 4 of, I don't know what the math is. Anyways, 50% in my Vancouver school, which is a city, which is like a big city with lots of salons, had no intention. And that kind of freaked me out. And of course I spoke to them. I said, look, I'm going to teach you. That's my job as the owner of this hairdressing school. I'm going to give you all the knowledge I need to in order for you to be successful. But don't sell yourself short, and don't limit your path by not at least trying, because there's some, as you and I know as hairdressers, there's amazing things that can happen. And if you take yourself out of it before you've even started, you will never experience some of these things, and you will maybe never find inspiration where you didn't know there was. I know for me, the first time I went to a hair show, I saw somebody on stage. I'm like, I didn't know this even existed. I want to do that. And then within 2 years, I was doing it. You know, there's amazing things that if you limit your path, you'll never explore things. I don't know. There's probably a better way of stating this, but you get the point. So here's another thing that I've noticed in hairdressing school, and this made me think bigger terms about legacy as far as hairdressers. And what got me thinking about this, I've been noticing this for a long time, but the catalyst for what I'm about to say was a Facebook post by a colleague of mine who is an owner of some very, very large hair salon companies in Vancouver, a company that's very, very famous, and he's a friend of mine, and he had written something along the lines of, who wants to come to New York to see Nick Araujo, Van Council, I think he said Vivian McKinder, and maybe another name. It might have been Tim Hartley. I'm not sure. At the end, and Guy Tang at the Intercoiffure, and a bunch of people liked it, and a bunch of people read, "Oh yeah, pick me." I guess I'm not sure if it was an invitation or not, but somebody had written, the only name that anybody acknowledged in there was Guy Tang, and somebody's like, "Oh my God, I love Guy Tang." And this is not meant to be disrespectful to Guy Tang in any way, because I think he has done amazing. First of all, he does beautiful hair, and he has shown us that there is a way to become wildly successful in this industry by being independent and by doing beautiful hair and putting it on video and putting it in photographs. And he's an absolute inspiration. So no disrespect meant, but holy shit, Van Council, Nick Araujo, all of these names. Now, Van is like my personal hero. I've taken a class with Van once in Texas in like 1997. And that was the only time I've ever spoken to him. And it was, for me, it was like I almost didn't have a true scope of, I didn't own a salon at the time. So as much as I worship the guy, I worship the guy now. And it just made me really, really sad that out of all these names of legends in the industry, the Guy Tang was the name. Now, 10 years ago, Nick Araujo would have been the name there, and it's only one quick generation of hairdressers before Nick's name is not at the forefront of the industry anymore. And Nick's doing amazing things in the industry, and he's another hero of mine, and I absolutely love what Nick's doing, and he's so smart and a huge mentor. So again, no disrespect to Nick, but this is a guy that was on TV for 7 years, and he's not the one that's mentioned. And for me, as a school owner, I ask, when I lecture in my schools, I speak to my young students about certain names, and they've never heard. I mean, nobody in my school has heard of Vivian McKinder or heard of Trevor Sorby. Most of them have never heard of Nick until I remember what not to get with the British guy. You know, nobody has heard of these people. Nobody's heard the name Vidal Sassoon. You know, out of, when I ask a group of 6 students, maybe one has heard the name Vidal Sassoon, but they didn't know he was a real person. They just thought it was the name of a brand. And it's depressing as hell. So in my schools, we show Vivian McKinder's series of I'm Not Just a Hairdresser, and we show them the legends and the leading ladies, because I really truly believe that we have to teach history as educators and mentors. And it's not like we're teaching ancient history. We're teaching like stuff between 40 and 10 years ago as history. So it's not like it's a huge stretch. But I think we have a responsibility as hair educators to educate people. But on a larger sort of perspective of this, what this really, really means is it speaks to what your legacy is in this industry, and what you're lasting, so what you're going to leave behind when you put down your scissors. And this is depressing as hell to me, knowing that the time that I've put in, I mean, I've been doing hair for 23 years, and luckily I have this platform to speak to many of you people. So right now I've got a stronger appeal. But if I disappeared for 2 years, I would literally be completely forgotten in the industry. So it made me kind of think how fleeting the fame and legacy can be in this industry, and what's really, really meaningful. And I think what's the most meaningful thing that you can do in order to have a more lasting impression on people is to be physically sort of impacting people in a positive way by teaching them and empowering to have an amazing life through hairdressing. Because all of the shit and all the likes that you have on YouTube, let's talk about Jose Ibert. Jose Ibert was the most famous hairdresser in the world in the 80s. And I know he's still relevant today. He still has a salon, but nobody knows who Dude is. This dude was on Oprah all the time, and Donahue. I mean, nobody knows who Donahue is. So this speaks to, if you're on the top of the industry today, first of all, don't have an ego about it, because you're going to disappear and be irrelevant in a very, very short period of time, because we've seen it happen time and time again. And so get off your high horse and start to be nice, because your ego is stupid and wasted on something where you're not important. You're not important in the grand scheme of hairdressing. If nobody knows who Vidal is at this point, which is so freaking sad, nobody's going to know who you are either. So get over it. Secondly, leave a very, very lasting impact by empowering somebody to have an amazing life through hairdressing, as I just repeated from what I just said, I realize. And I think that's the most powerful thing that you can do, is mentor somebody and really, really help that person, because at least for those people, those are meaningful relationships. This is not you just being a flash in the pan 2-minute YouTube video every week where everyone's like, oh my God, you're amazing, and having 100,000 Instagram followers. What's really, really important is that you touch somebody personally and help their career in a personal way. And that goes right back to the beginning, to the way things used to be. Because I know now, I'm thinking, with academies and salons, there's people who will say, oh yeah, he gave me my start. And but ultimately, once I'm done, within 10 years of the industry, there's a generation gone and nobody's going to know who I am. So at least try to impact the people that are around you. And don't focus on, getting acknowledgement and fame from people you don't know, because that's bullshit, and it's totally transparent and it means nothing. It's like sugar. Be around the people that are around you. Like, be present for those people. Stop trying to look out for other things, and start to appreciate the things that are at home, and make a lasting impact on the people that work with you and stand beside you every single day. And it's much more meaningful, and it's sort of like we all kind of, family trumps everything, and sometimes we forget, but we always come back. Kind of start thinking about coming back, because all those people out there, everybody's hustling, and the people around you are the ones that are grinding it out with you every single day, and you have the ability to give them aha moments and make a meaningful impact on their career. I just did a written blog on mentors and stuff like that, because I've been really thinking about this a lot lately, about the guy who gave me my start in the industry. And as much as I, worship people but really look up to people like Ted Gibson and Nick Arrojo and Robert Cromians and Van Council, of course, and all of these people that are my heroes and mentors and idols. Ultimately, the guy who gave me my first job, who showed me some possibilities of the industry, who I didn't appreciate at the time, but put me in a position to be successful, that's actually who my real mentor is. And thankfully, he's awesome. And so you can read my video blog if you want to read a little bit about how I feel about mentors. And I think it's a decent little blog. MichaelLevineHair.com is my video blog. Anyways, thank you for sort of making it through this really, really long one. I hope I've given you something to think about and not ruined your weekend. So thank you. Have a wonderful day. I'm just a boy.